Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about Latin and the plural in Latin. Okay, so we're going to start off with some review. First off, as you all know, nouns are categorized into groups called declensions. And first declension nouns end in A in the nominative singular. Second declension nouns end in US or UM in the nominative singular. And third declension nouns end in kind of various endings in the nominative singular. It really depends. And nouns can also be one of three genders: masculine, feminine, or neuter. And nouns which end in an A suffix are almost always feminine. And nouns which end in a US suffix are almost always masculine. And nouns which end in a UM suffix are always neuter. And nouns which belong to the third declension really can be any one of the three. You just have to memorize the gender. Okay, so now pause the video and take a second to identify the correct declension of the following nouns and then the correct gender of the following nouns. All right, so next we're going to review some syntax, right? The parts of the sentence. So the subject of the sentence is the noun which directs the action. And the direct object, by contrast, is the noun which receives the action. And the suffix in Latin used to indicate that the subject of the sentence is called the nominative case. And the suffix used in Latin to indicate the direct object of the sentence is called the accusative case. And nouns can also show their change their suffixes to show what we call number. This is new stuff. And nouns that indicate one person are what you would call singular. And nouns which indicate more than one person are what we would call plural, right? And you've probably heard these terms thrown around in English a bunch too. The nominative singular suffixes in the first declension are, as we went over, A in the first declension, US or UM in the second declension, and in the third declension, just kind of depends, right? And the nominative plural suffixes, also easy, are AE in the first, I in the second, or A if it's neuter, and then in the third declension, always EAs. There's nothing weird going on with the third declension here. All right, so take a minute to try to change the following nouns to the nominative plural. And sometimes, remember, there's a stem change with the third declension nouns. For clamor here, your stem is still going to be clamor. For UNS, your stem is going to be UN, so you just take off that IS. And for senex, your stem would be sen here. Orbs, your stem is orb here. And octor, you're just going to add the endings on to octor. So hopefully that'll help you out as you give this a try. Okay, so some new stuff on verbs. Verbs also have to change their suffixes to show number, right? We don't say we am, we say we are in English. And verbs that indicate which indicate one person are singular, naturally, and verbs that indicate more than one person are plural. The linking verb est means he, she, or it is, and therefore is singular in number. And the linking verb sunt means they are, and is therefore plural in number. And action verbs which end in a T suffix, like dormit, sedet, and scribet, mean he, she, or it, and they are singular in number. And action verbs which end in an nt suffix, such as sedent, spectant, and dormient, mean they whatever, and they are plural in number. Pretty straightforward. So first conjugation verbs will keep the vowel A before the nt, so laborant. Second conjugation verbs will keep the vowel E, that long E, before the nt, vident. And then third conjugation verbs actually replace the vowel I with a U before the NT. So that becomes scribunt. So expanding the rhyme that we learned earlier, E runs away, right? That weak E runs away, and I take its place. But soon I get tired, and you have to finish the job. And one exception, fourth conjugation verbs keep the vowel I, but they add a U before the NT. So you would get audient. This vowel changes in the third and fourth occur because the Romans really didn't like that int sound. Eunt or unt is much more pleasing, apparently. All right, finally, try changing these following verbs to the third person plural, right? They're now third person singular, he, she, or it. And think about the conjugation number of the verb before you add those endings. Okay, that's about it for plurals.